On the previous episode of Back to Basics.
Dad, I don't want to become an astronaut like everybody else. I want to become a TV star. Boy, your mother would be ashamed of you right now. Well, she would if she existed, but she's not coming until the next patch. I hate you, Dad. Why do you always bring up the fact that I have no mother? I'm leaving for good.
Stay tuned for the thrilling conclusion.
And we are back. As you can see, I do have one satellite in my Kerbal alarm clock here, and that is precisely for the purpose of the fact, or rather for the fact that we did not make it all the way. I also accepted a contract on our behalf. That contract would be an orbital station around the Minmus, or something like that. So we're pretty good. We're gonna go for this guy now, and I've been working on it all week. It's actually we are a little bit under the advance, but the vehicle is a little bit more expensive than I would like. But the science rewards we're getting from it, I think, will be more than worth it. So we're gonna focus on that. I believe I have everything unlocked here. So let's just bring this guy up. We actually need a new launch pad here, because we aren't overweight, but we are oversized. And I'm just going to throw Milbus into one of these hitchhikers here. Now what we are looking for is something called the Rove Base, because I had to make it a rover. And it is huge and expensive. But we do have a little bit left over from our launch, so that's good enough for me. Now there will be some things that we'll have to do here. This is not a very easily controlled vessel by any stretch of the imagination. Let's see. Now I know we have that engineer in there. Or do we? Let us recover this vessel real quick, because I want to make sure that engineer gets there. Even though the engineer that we have probably does not have enough experience to repair the wheels, we do nonetheless want him in there, because he can do other things like repack parachutes. Alright, let's get old Milbus in there again. Milbus went on a special training mission for this, so I am quite content with the idea that he might do us some good. We have other things as well that we want to do that will help us. I have instruments on here, if I can see them. This is a pretty tall rocket. We'll just log the seismic data here because we don't have it. And might as well keep it for now. We can get somebody to EVA on our way over there. Although actually, it would be good for us to send it, I think. Because this guy's not coming back. So let's just go ahead and send this. We will regain this whenever we launch, so I think that'll be okay. This guy is pretty slow for the most part. The thrust to weight ratio, as you can see, is a little bit lower than we would normally want. And instead of 16, we have 17 kerbals that we can support. Although I'm not too bothered by that, actually, and I will tell you why. You see, one of the things that we get here as a result of having so few or so many spots for kerbals is we get an observation canopy. That observation canopy is going to be nice for us. But that will be okay for now. I've just got to get this thing up into orbit. I thought about not recording this, or maybe recording part of it, but I think we should go ahead and record it just because this is an untested launcher. We don't know if it'll fail or not. It certainly is expensive. We don't want it to fail. We are turning just a little bit. I'll correct for inclination later on, I think. Because we still have quite a bit of fuel to go here. Even with this main cell engine, getting a cost-effective launcher was not the easiest thing to do. And making it recoverable almost seems like a fool's errand. So I'm just going to have this as a fully expendable vehicle. But we're actually under budget, as it turns out. That means we get to pocket the rest, and I do rather like that idea. And you'll notice too, even with these guys here, these boosters, we're still not going very fast. Which is an okay thing, I suppose. Because we want these boosters to separate from us fairly early. And that will happen shortly. That is somewhat of a terrifying separation we have there. Just because these guys have no way to get back down. Maybe this thing is robotic. And it's entirely possible that I should have taken advantage of that fact. But it's really too late to change now. I'm also not going to pitch over nearly as aggressively as I usually do. If for no other reason than the fact that I don't think this thing can handle it. It just doesn't have enough thrust. You can see even now our thrust to weight ratio, and we're out of the thickest part of the atmosphere, is less than 2. Maybe we could afford to pitch over just a little bit more. Right now I'm more worried about my inclination, because that's a little bit harder to fix once we get up to speed. Unfortunately, we do not have anything like Mech Job where we could keep this guy. Right, we better slow this process down. If I can maintain this inclination, I'll be happy. We will incidentally be affected by Kerbin for a very long time. Now, if this were far, this would have actually probably been a way cheaper stack, and I don't think really anybody's ever seen Flight for Survival. I had a few fans, I guess, but the point is that with FAR, you trade off your efficiency. You get much more bang for buck when you're launching off of Kerbin because the atmosphere isn't so soupy. You trade that off for more difficulty and control. And the new, from what I read, the 1.0 KSP is going to be very, very similar to FAR. It's probably not going to have physics as accurate, but its physics will be okay. Now I'm just going to let this thing climb up a bit because our time to apoapsis needs to increase. A fair deal, actually. I'm gonna get it to about a minute or so. And I'd say our inclination is fairly good at this point. I'm expecting we'll get somewhere to the order of maybe 14 or 1500 before we have to dispense with this stage. But I think that prediction may be a little wrong. Or maybe not. 1600, it seems, is the case here. And there we go. Time to separate. Now we need more in the way of time to apoapsis, so I'm going to increase that just very, very slightly. Because we simply do not have enough thrust otherwise to get out of the atmosphere. We're slowing down quite a bit. Now this one transfer stage is not going to be enough, I don't think, to get us over there. Not by far. But ideally we want to get this guy up to maybe between 70 and 80 kilometers. That would probably be the best thing for us. And that time to apoapsis is climbing very, very steadily. So after getting into orbit, we may need to borrow fuel. I'm at least going to do it for this landing stage here. I'm going to begin pitching down just a little bit. This thing is definitely one of my slower launches, but there's really not much that can be done about that, I don't think. Now there are of course other amenities here. We have maybe not our complete science deal here, but we do have a reasonably complete science complement. And that is a pretty good start here. And as we continue to burn, we should be pretty close to getting out of the atmosphere. There we go. We are almost in orbit here. But that's a 7-minute burn we have to do. I will definitely be borrowing fuel in order to make this happen. But that leaves us with 48 meters per second at delta V that we want to account for. And that's a pretty good deal for us. Before we time warp, I think we definitely do want to get these panels out, or else we may end up finding ourselves in between a rock and a hard place. Well, if I can get the panel out. Those are our landing thrusters there. We will just extend the panel. If it weren't for the fact that this guy had to be on wheels, this may have been a little bit easier to construct. But as it stands, that's something that we have to worry about. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this engine to get us into orbit. And we will... Oh, we're still in the atmosphere. How about that? We should be in space soon, though. So I'm gonna give us maybe about... Oh, there we go. I think that's good enough. I'm not really going to bother myself with doing too much in the way of, I guess, correcting this. Our inclination is just fine, I think. Let's get ourselves in orbit plotted, shall we? Well, let's try to get ourselves in orbit plotted because our map view is a little bit messed up. Let me just return to the Space Center real quick and figure out exactly what's going on with this. There we go. This, ERT probe, as you can see, is going to fall down. We still gotta get this guy. Eventually, I'll probably do that afterwards. But we have this guy that will be coming into contact with Kerbin in about a day. I decided I better show that since it in fact was not successful. Okay, let's see if we can get this orbit plotted. Looks like we may be lucky enough to get an off-plane change, or an off-plane transfer, rather. Not that it really matters in this case. It's 840. Now in this case, I'd rather expend the extra delta V in order for us to end up on the right side of Kerbin. Ah, 94 kilometers. If we can do just a little bit better, I will be happy. Okay. Let's, we're slightly under budget, but that's okay. You see, we can transfer fuel now. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to get ready to make our burn. Now the reason I've decided to use the insertion stage is that we don't have any engines pointing down. This could be a bit of a problem for us, because we want to go ahead when we land. Let me just retract these legs here. Or these ladders, rather, but when we land, we're going to want to do some things such as, rove around the surface. I have not tested to see whether or not wheel breakage is a big detriment to that. That is not what I want. There we go. But that could be an issue for us, and I don't really want it to be. So there's really two options. We could attempt to land this thing on its back and then hope that somehow we are able to keep it upright. And I do not believe that we will have enough in the way of thrust in order to do that. Or we could put these other jets on. Let's do a test burn. Well, let's get closer in and do a test burn. Maybe like that. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That means we want to burn around 1 minute and 6 seconds or so. Doesn't quite have to be on the nose here. But we do want it to be pretty close. And really, given our entry here, I think we'll be okay. Even though this is a one-day encounter. This is a 1 day, 2 hours, and 30 minutes. I'm content to lose Ert here, if needed. This guy is more important, and we already got his launcher back, so I don't feel too bad by saying that if Ert doesn't land, and I'm sure it will. But I was kind of careless with Art anyhow, because Art is not the mission I'm focusing on. This is the mission I'm focusing on. And you know, poor Bob, he's gonna probably need something in the way of therapy when he gets back, because he's been alone on the moon for a very long time. It's part of the reason why I sent other Kerbals, in fact. Ooh, okay, we're on a collision course for Kerbin. That's not such a good thing. Where are we? Oh, we're over here somewhere. If I can get around 20 to 30 kilometers, then I'll be happy, I think. We do get slightly more Delta V from this stage. Okay, what's our periapsis? Like 45? That's good enough. And you know what? Because we're going to do an inclination adjustment, we might as well. What's our time to periapsis? 1 day, 2 hours, and 26 minutes. It's even worse. than what we had before. Let's see if we can get out there. Now, what I want to do when I do actually launch this thing, and I will show you in the next episode, or maybe I will show you after landing this guy, I'm not sure yet, is I'm going to make sure that the KSC is close to it. And there we go. We're probably a little bit off, but there we go. That is as good as I can do, I think, and that is now in 0 days and 0 hours and 38 minutes. I think that gives us just enough time to get into orbit. We'll just warp here to the SOI. And we should have about 3 minutes or so before we enter that. There we go. Our inclination is 0.6 degrees. And we're 41 degrees, so that's not too bad, I don't think. Now this guy's probably going to be used to land. I would think so anyway. Oh, and you know what? We do have time to do this because Earth has a 15-minute margin on it. So this will be close. But it won't be. Oop, there we go. We are a little bit too low. We're pretty close here. I am going to call that close enough, I think. Let's warp to the maneuver node. Or let's warp to PE. Either one will do. We just want to get in there within, oh, I don't know, There we go. That's close enough, I think. It looks like maybe 16 seconds will do it. We still have plenty of fuel, by the way. This guy is going to be able to land, no problem. Well, maybe no problem. You see, part of the issue by saying that is that invariably there will be a problem in landing it because we simply may not have the control authority that we need. But yeah, that's coming down pretty quickly. And yeah, it's for the most part going to be okay. We just have to get down to speed. Okay, that'll be fine, I think. Let's go ahead and take care of Ert real quick. And come back to this guy because Ert has valuable science on it. Not, I guess, critically important science, but okay, yes, I know. Enough to where it would be within our best interest to recover it. We're coming in pretty steeply here, but I think we'll be pretty close to the KSC, which was not even really something I was thinking about, but it'll do. It'll do nicely, in fact. I just wanted this thing out of the way, and I picked an inopportune time to collect it. Well, what can I say, could be worse. Go ahead and pop those chutes now. Really all I care about is the science on this thing, though. And let's get ourselves down to an interesting landing height, or a good landing height, rather. That flat land we're landing on sure looks like it. There we go, we'll just recover this guy. And let's time warp to such a point where we can entertain landing this other guy. Now, we'll have to be careful with this landing because we got 25 data. Very nice. 68.1% of the value. I can't argue about that. We're going to have to be very careful with landing this because of the fact that its engines are relatively underpowered. We will have to see, in particular, what the deal is here. So let's zoom in and see if maybe we cannot plot a course that's close to Bob here. Bob is... Oh, we passed him. Well, you know what that means. We get to go in circles for a while. But thankfully, Bob is on the light side of the moon. I mean, I can think of worse things to happen. In fact, he is way over here, I think, somehow. Which means the rover probably needs to go and fetch him. But we're in a new biome. I mean, we can definitely deal with that. If we can get this guy here to land more or less on target, we will set a target for it. We can get these guys at least close enough to Bob to where we don't really need to worry too much. And I'm going to milk this one stage here as much as we can. Okay, let's get this started. 12 seconds. We can do that. That is not hard for us to do at all. Now, given the amount of delta V we have, and why are we in docking mode? We should not be in docking mode. Oh, we're fine, I think. We maybe move ourselves up here. There we go. That is much, much better. But my primary concern, I believe, is going to be to get over these mountains here and begin burning. We're still several kilometers up. That's very good so far. And now, of course, is the time for us to burn in Bob's general direction. And hope that we do not descend as rapidly as I think we're about to. Just give ourselves a little bit of altitude to worry about. So we can make this fuel transfer happen. Oh, there we go. Let's quickly transfer this in. Decouple these stages. I think landing is going to be a good idea. 198 meters a second at delta V is a lot for what we're trying to do. But we need to slow down quite a fair deal. And one of the reasons is that this guy will take a little bit too much punishment if we don't. I don't know, this one's gonna be close. Well, we have broken our wheels here. One of them at least. And we have no way of repairing it just quite yet. But, let's see. Are we in fact on wheels? Yes, we have completed this contract for a very cool 439 science. Now, last time Bob got into trouble because he was trying to walk to this guy. So maybe the first thing for us to do ooh, the moon's surface is very, very slippery. But maybe the first thing for us to do is to get Bob on over here. Because having him walk 8 kilometers even on the moon seems like a really, really bad idea. But we're down here. So we could get some transmission going. And we will also, that's not bad at all, we'll also grab some mystery goo as well. Now we are in the Midlands. Which I believe we've been to before. The one thing to keep in mind about this station is that it is somewhat off-center. But you know, it's actually quite a nifty thing to have, as long as we don't abuse it. And, yeah, getting over here to Bob will take a little bit of time. Maybe we can have him meet us halfway. But he's got friends now, at least. We're gonna make Bob captain of the science team on this rover, and we may even send more people out. Unfortunately, this guy is not well equipped for really what I want to do. And the reason is that we just happen to need this guy on wheels. That, and you actually wouldn't believe with that other wheel missing how difficult this thing is to drive. Okay. I don't believe this crater is going to be safe for Bob, or for for the space, or for the base, rather. In fact, I think we will be in trouble if we try to use it in the way that I've been thinking about using it. So let's just deploy here for now. Bob can meet us the rest of the way. So we do know at least having one broken wheel, it doesn't completely ruin this. We'll also turn on the lights here so that people can see. And I think maybe Bob, if we switch to him, we can get close enough, despite the fact that he really... You know, he really does not have much here. We can get him back home, I think. Though maybe what I'll do is I will record this off screen. And we will see Bob in the next episode, maybe. That's what I think I'll do. Just because it could be a little bit tricky. And it'll take a while. But yeah, let's at least go back to the Space Center. And why don't we see what new contracts are available? Maybe what we can do with the science as well. We do not really have much here that we can do, it looks like. Aside from exploring Duna. Maybe I can land it at Kerbin, sure, why not? That's 8 science. This guy I could do, but I'm not going to. Interesting. That's worth a lot of science. And it is doable. But I'm not sure if I want to do that. We have 4 days to decide. Because the trouble is we can have the outpost there. But we do not want to send Kerbals down yet. We don't have the facilities to get off of Minmus. As for science, well, we got a few options available to us. Large electrics is one that I've been needing and do actually want. And this will be useful for landers, I think, and stations and things like that. And that will lead us up here, I believe. We're on the beginning of a very bold part of spaceflight at this point, and I do want to take as much advantage of that as possible. But that'll be for another episode. Until then, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.